The 2012 season is considered to be one of the best seasons in Formula 1 history. The main reason for this was the fact that there were 7 different race winners in the first 7 races, which is a record to this day. So in today's video, I'm going to go through each and every driver in this class and find out where they are now. Don't worry, I'm not going to go into much depth on each driver, as that would take a century. I will go through each driver in order of where they finished from 24th all the way up to that year's world champion. Pedro de la Rosa, retired. The Spaniard had a very respectable Formula 1 career spanning 14 seasons. De la Rosa was more of a reliable, experienced backmarker driver as he was in his last season in 2012, driving for HRT. He scored his one and only podium in Formula 1 at the Hungaroring in 2006 with McLaren after being promoted from test driver for the rest of the season because Juan Pablo Montoya exited to NASCAR. The Spaniard is now 9 years into retirement and is 1 year away from reaching half a century in his lifetime. But unfortunately for him, in his final season in 2012, he scored no points, coming tied last in the standings. Narain Karthikeyan, retired. To any of you who aren't subscribed, then you probably don't remember who Narain Karthikeyan was. This was also Karthikeyan's final season in Formula 1, but his career in Formula 1 was quite underwhelming, only spending 3 seasons in the sport. The Indian scored 5 career points across 1 season with Jordan, all the way back in 2005, and 2 seasons with the HRT. I think it's safe to say that Karthikeyan never really had a chance at the HRT, and like his teammate De La Rosa, he finished pointless at the end of the season. Heikki Kovalainen, Super GT. Kovalainen again had a very respectable time in Formula 1 in his 7 seasons in the sport. The Finn scored 105 points, scored 4 podiums and won the 2008 Hungarian Grand Prix. In his 2012 season, Kovalainen was driving with Caterham, another team who scored 0 points that year and really struggled to keep up. Kovalainen didn't have a good season, but luckily for him, he got a seat at Lotus for the 2013 season. The 39-year-old currently finds himself racing in Super GT with Toyota, where he finished 11th, scoring 31 points and achieved a 1 win and 1 podium. Charles Pic, free agent. If anyone watching this video has heard of this driver, comment down below, because before this video I hadn't a clue who Charles Pic was. Anyways, the Frenchman was driving for Rosa in 2012, and it was his rookie season at the age of 22. Unfortunately for him, he scored no points, and even in the next season, when he moved to Caterham, he also was pointless. Pic is now 30 years old, and his last drive was back in 2015 when he raced in the maiden season of Formula E for Andretti Autosport. Timo Glock, WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. Glock had an F1 career spanning 6 seasons in 2004 when he made his debut with Jordan and then left the sport not to return until 2008 with Toyota. Glock didn't finish on the points once in his final year in Formula 1. The German has had a relatively decent career in F1, scoring 51 career points and getting on the podium 3 times. He is really known in the F1 community for his famous engine issues in Brazil, which caused Lewis Hamilton to overtake him and win the title. He is still only 38 and is driving for WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, which to me means absolutely nothing as I have no clue what it actually is. Vitaly Petrov, free agent. The closest of the other previous drivers to score a point in this season, Vitaly Petrov came 11th in the final race in Brazil and nearly scored a point for Caterham. The Russian only spent 3 seasons of his career in Formula 1 with Renault and Caterham, actually scoring 64 points with a podium with Renault. Petrov is currently without a drive, and his last stint was at the 24-hour Le Mans with SMP Racing. The team finished 3rd with the Russian in 2019. Daniel Ricciardo, McLaren. The first driver on this list that still has a career in Formula 1. In 2012, Ricciardo was going into his 2nd season in Formula 1 and his first with Toro Rosso. Ricciardo was only 23 at the time and scored 10 points in his debut season. his highest position coming ninth 4 times. Since then, the Aussie has gone on to do better things. A 5-year stint at Red Bull and 2 seasons at Renault, achieving 7 wins and 31 podiums. In 2021, Ricciardo will drive for McLaren, and it will be exciting to see what him and Lando Norris can do to close the gap on the big teams ahead. Jean-Eric Vergne, Formula E. Jean-Eric Vergne is, in my opinion, a very unlucky driver, and if it wasn't for the abundant talent of Ricciardo, Verstappen and Daniel Kvyat, then I think the Frenchman would have had a chance with Red Bull. All 3 of the seasons where he took part in Formula 1 were with Toro Rosso, where he scored a very respectable 51 points, and him and Ricciardo had some good battles on the racetrack. The now 30-year-old has taken Formula E by storm since its first debuted. Vergne has won 2 championships to date, and in the 2020 season come third behind Van Dorn and Da Costa. But in 2021 he will be looking to claim his 3rd title. Bruno Senna, 24-hour Le Mans. To be honest, I think partly why he got drives in Formula 1 was the fact that he was Ayrton Senna's nephew. He wasn't all bad though, to be fair, spending 3 seasons in Formula 1 with 3 different teams. The Brazilian scored 33 total points, with 31 of them coming with Williams, which was his drive for this season. Senna now is 37 years old and is again another driver who has gone down the path of the 24 Hours Le Mans race, and his 2020 actually came second with Rebellion Racing. Pastor Maldonado, free agent. Pastor Maldonado, one of the most controversial drivers in Formula 1 history. Though in 2012 Spanish Grand Prix, the Venezuelan decided to become the reincarnation of Fernando Alonso and take control of that race weekend. Maldonado won the Spanish Grand Prix, which is to date the Williams team's last win in Formula 1. Enough about that though. Although Maldonado won that race, he still only managed 15th place, as his inconsistent habits came back to bite him on the backside. His whereabouts are currently unknown, so if you have any information on the Venezuelan, please call this phone number. Ha! Only joking, but seriously though, what did happen to Pastor Maldonado? Paul di Resta, Sky Sports pundit. Paul di Resta was just another one of those drivers who was consistent every season and was very reliable, unlike Maldonado. He was known for his stint with Force India, where he did reasonably well. Over his F1 career of 3 proper seasons and 1 race in 2017 for Williams, the Brit scored 121 points, and in 2012 had another decent season, scoring 46 points, and ultimately handed Sebastian Vettel the World Championship by crashing out on the 3rd last lap at Interlagos to bring out a safety car. The Scotsman has now been in punditry since 2016 with Sky and has been pretty successful commentating on many of the Formula 1 races. Michael Schumacher, retired. Arguably the greatest of all time, this was Schumacher's final season in Formula 1. The German was 44 at this time and still managed to score 49 points and claim his 155th and last podium in Spain. Schumacher is now 52 and is long retired from that 2012 season, but unfortunately in 2013 Schumacher hit his head on a rock while skiing in the exclusive French Alps resort of Mirabel, suffering a traumatic brain injury. He has not been seen in public since, and we all hope that the German can recover and see his son race in Formula 1. Kamui Kobayashi, WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. Kobayashi was another good consistent driver who you would expect to be scoring points nearly every weekend when he was with good teams. The Japanese international had a 5-year stint in Formula 1 and scored 125 points in that time, even getting on the podium in his home race in Japan in 2012. He has currently just started the WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, where he finished the first race in 2nd place. Nico Hulkenberg, Racing Point reserve driver. If you could describe an F1 driver as consistent, then Hulkenberg would be right up there. The German has found success in Formula 1 but never truly fulfilled his potential. The German raced in Formula 1 for 9 full seasons and in 2020 filled in for Racing Point and a couple of races. He has scored 521 points in that time, achieving 1 pole position but none podiums and no wins, holding the record for the longest time without getting on the podium in Formula 1. After he just lost out on the Red Bull seat, there are still plenty of options for Hulkenberg, and he still has a chance of getting a seat in 2022. Sergio Perez, Red Bull Racing. I think it's safe to say that Perez's move to Red Bull was quite a shock, but in my opinion a smart move for the Austrian outfit, as now they have an experienced driver who knows the feeling of winning races. The Mexican, also like Hulkenberg, is one of the most consistent drivers year in and year out, and fully deserved his move to a team who can challenge for wins every weekend. Perez currently has 706 points racked up since his debut in 2011 and has scored 10 podiums and even got an unbelievable win in Bahrain last season. Nico Rosberg, retired. Rosberg had an exceptional F1 career which started back in 2006 and lasted until 2016 when he retired after winning his one and only Drivers' Championship. Rosberg had a decent 2012 season, finishing 9th, scoring 93 points and got his and Mercedes' first win at the Chinese Grand Prix. After Hamilton joined in 2013, we saw some of the best battles between the two, as things always seemed to get heated when tensions rose. The German is now well into retirement, and late 2020 he established Rosberg Extreme Racing to compete in all the electric SUV off-road racing series Extreme E from the 2021 season onwards. Romain Grosjean, IndyCar. Romain Grosjean was a very experienced F1 driver and had spent 10 years in the sport until Haas decided not to renew his contract. Grosjean never finished his last season with a life-threatening crash that he was lucky to be relatively unscratched. In 2012, Grosjean achieved 3 podiums, finishes and scored 96 points, having a good season with Lotus. Since Haas decided to not go with Grosjean for 2021, it is now confirmed he will be racing in IndyCar in 2021, but do expect a surprise return to Formula 1 at any time for the Frenchman. Felipe Massa, Porsche Endurance Series. Felipe Massa was a very respected driver by all in the F1 paddock, and the Brazilian was quite a popular figure when he was at Ferrari, where he spent his prime years, just missing out on the 2008 world title. But in 2012 it was a very underwhelming season for Massa, and I know that year's Ferrari wasn't the best, but Alonso really made the best out of it. Unfortunately for Massa, he struggled and only achieved 2 podiums, and he got less than half the points of his teammate. In 2020, the Brazilian took part in the Porsche Endurance Series and finished 5th on 166 points. Mark Webber, retired. Webber spent 12 years in Formula 1 and was a well-liked driver, a bit like Daniel Ricciardo today. Out of his 215 starts, the Aussie won 9 races and claimed 42 podiums, which predominantly came from his time at Red Bull. In 2012, Webber won 2 races, but other than that, he had a very quiet season, only getting on the podium one more time after that, while his teammate dominated the back end of the season. Webber hasn't competed in a proper racing championship since 2016, but in 2021, Webber is due to compete in the American-based short-track oval racing series Superstar Racing Experience. Jenson Button, F1 pundit. The first driver to be one of the 7 different race winners in 7 races, Button started off the 2012 season strongly with a win in Australia and a 2nd place in China. However, things didn't really go smooth sailing for Button after that, and so he ended up finishing the season in 5th. Button had a very up and down career, but I won't bore you with the details, but its peak was in 2009 when he claimed his first and only driver's title in one of the shocks of the century. The Englishman now does a bit of work with Sky covering Formula 1, and you would often see Button around the paddock on race weekends. Lewis Hamilton, Mercedes. Lewis Hamilton is one of the most successful Formula 1 drivers in history, with the 2020 drivers' title wrapped up in October. Hamilton has now equalled Schumacher's 7 world titles and is looking to outright hold the title of the most successful driver in Formula 1 history. In 2012, Hamilton was entering his 6th season in Formula 1 with only one driver's title to his name at this point. It was a season in which Hamilton had many reliability issues with his McLaren, but still managed 4 wins and 3 podiums. Hamilton is now going into his 9th season with Mercedes and will certainly be looking to dominate Formula 1 once again and finally break the record for the most F1 titles in history. Kimi Raikkonen, Alfa Romeo. The Iceman is now 41 years old and will be turning 42 in October. Raikkonen has had an epic Formula 1 career, driving with top teams like McLaren and Ferrari and even winning the driver's title in 2007. Although in 2012 Raikkonen had just returned from 3 years out of Formula 1 and joined Lotus, who looked like a podium finishing team, and Raikkonen certainly took advantage of that, scoring 6 podiums and even getting 1 win with many top 6 finishes. 2021 looks like it could be the last year in Formula 1 for Kimi, and it will be an emotional goodbye for all Formula 1 fans that we hope is still further on down the line. Fernando Alonso, Alpine F1 team. In 2020, Renault, which is now known as Alpine F1 team, signed 39-year-old Alonso for the 2021 season. The Spaniard is vastly experienced and has won 2 world titles, so it's going to be exciting to see him on the grid again. In 2012, Alonso had his 3rd title snatched away from him again in the last race by the same driver. Alonso crossed the finish line in first place 3 times and finished on the podium after a further 10 times, with a crucial DNF in Japan effectively losing him the driver's title. Alonso has now made his return to Formula 1, and the only time will tell if the Spaniard is ready to face a challenge again, and for how much longer will he be able to face it. Sebastian Vettel, Aston Martin. The eventual champion. To cap off the truly one of the best Formula 1 seasons in history, Sebastian Vettel showed fantastic resilience to fight back and catch Alonso. The German was so good at the end of the season that he won 4 races in a row from Singapore until India. 6th was enough to see Vettel be crowned a triple world champion, having a troubled start at the race, but lap by lap kept overtaking drivers, and even though Alonso finished 2nd, Paul di Resta crashed on the 3rd last lap and to hand Vettel the title, all while behind the safety car. The German is now 33 and has recently been dropped by Ferrari, which I think a lot of people, including myself, thought it might be it for Vettel, until the big man himself, Lawrence Stroll, decided to do something useful with his money and keep Vettel in Formula 1 with Aston Martin. I hope you enjoyed this video on the class of the 2012 season and where they are now. If you were one of those people, then I strongly encourage you to smash the like button and subscribe to keep the videos coming in. Until next time guys, it's goodbye for now.